This is YNN on the agenda.
Last week, Governor Perry made headlines by proposing lawmakers sign on to his Texas budget compact. YNN's Harvey Kronberg takes a look at the governor's proposal and some surprising reactions.
After a rocky 6 months as a flamed-out Republican presidential candidate, a wounded Governor Rick Perry came back to Texas with his political organization in shambles and his approval numbers in the tank. He's since recovered his footing, and over the last several weeks, he's regained center stage, first by teasing a 2014 re-election run, along with another shot at the Republican presidential nomination in 2016. Then, last week, he seized center stage yet again by proposing that all Republicans sign on with him in publicly affirming 5 anti-tax, pro-transparency principles he called the Texas Budget Compact. In truth, the compact is the standard Republican anti-tax rhetoric that has dominated the party conversation and platforms for more than a decade. Some saw it as little more than rebuilding the Perry brand that had soared 3 years ago after he anticipated and got in front of the Tea Party surge that swept through American and Texas politics. Democratic reaction was swift and predictable. Gimmicks, tricks, and irresponsible were the words most often used in Democratic press releases. But it was the more private, angry response among some Republican lawmakers that was really interesting. With a probable low turnout primary looming and plenty of challenged incumbents, it was difficult to ignore the governor's call to arms. But the Republican majorities represent real people back home. It's an all too familiar list. Rural hospitals suffered from budget cuts. Suburban areas are strangling in traffic with no money to build or repair roads. Almost every community has some public school horror stories about cuts. The current tax system will never have enough money to pay for the water infrastructure needed to support either the suburbs or agriculture. And on it goes. Most Republicans were profoundly unhappy with the results from last session. The GOP supermajorities wrote a bunch of hot checks and left them for the next group of lawmakers to pay. From their perspective, the governor limited their flexibility and made problem solving much more difficult, while assuring a continuation of a government funded on hot checks. That's what's on the agenda. I'm Harvey Kronberg, and you can find me at quorumreport.com.